Shorty Torres.
And we are back, yeah. Episode 23 here with Shorty, and Shorty's home from Japan. And so, yeah, man, how are you and how are you feeling coming back home and getting a win and getting a fight finally and, just being back in Chicago?
Well, it's definitely nice to be home. I've had one full week of being as fat as possible, so today was my first day of working out, and oh my gosh, I needed it. But overall, man, it's nice because I mean, nice is a very underrated word, but it really is just a good time. Like Japan was so much fun, Saitama Arena,
Mm-hmm.
things were so unexpected, but just so much better than expected. I got taken care of, and then after the win, man, so many Japanese fans, even just walking around, like they would stop both Lazy and I because they were fans of either the UFC or my fight in Rizin, and it was
Yeah.
just like, dude, this is cool, And I was wearing a hat the whole time, so they're not looking for purple hair; they just recognize me for me and not Calvin Gastelum. So I was like, yeah. So it was
Yes.
just a really, really cool time, and Japan was just a fun experience, man. It's a place I've always wanted to go to. But then even coming back home, the greetings I got from my family, my friends, and just being able to relax, it's been just a really good time, man. And I'm happy to get back in the winner circle and even just talking to the rising matchmakers and the promotion, like they want me back, and that's something that we need
Sweet.
to figure out apart, with Brave because I'm still contracted with them. So we're trying to figure some things out and go from there.
Yeah, and I know that you spoke in a couple of interviews after post fight that you talked about, trying to get into that Risen Grand Prix, or if I don't know if that was just coming from you or if that's something that they're looking to do.
No, that's something that they're looking to do. I mean, the
Nice.
biggest thing I thought I was gonna get the microphone immediately after, but they're like, all right, cool, we gotta keep on rolling because we want to give the mic to the main event guys, the five, guys in the last session that they had. But for me, one of the biggest things was they're like, even before I fought, um, Shin Ryu, they're like, we want you to call out Kyoji. Like we want you to call out Kyoji. It's almost like they expected me to win, or at least worse than the worst. They really hoped that I would win the fight
Yeah.
because they're like, we need a new contender for Kyoji. We do believe he's gonna beat the South African. No offense to him, Zulu's a great fighter, but they
Hmm.
wanted somebody with a bigger name, and then I think for me they got that. I didn't put on the performance that I wanted to, but in general I got the win, so I'm happy with that. And then two, the Japanese fans love close fights. It was a very close contended fight to where they're like,
Hmm.
dude, you did this, you did that. That's awesome. That was so great. It's like even better. So for me, it was just a good thing. So I think, they want me part of that Grand Prix. The only flaw is I believe it's in the summer. So if
Ooh,
it is in the
yeah.
summer, it's 8-man tournament, then that means I would fight, which again, I'm not opposed to, but that means I would probably fight again, give or take, I'm just speculating July, September, or July, October, December, or July,
Yeah.
late September, December. So for me, I don't care. I just want to fight, but I'm hoping to fight sometime after Lazy Boys bout in March.
Yeah, that'd be really sweet, man. And there's two things to that as well. If you can get a fight at least with Brave, and in the meantime, that'd be great. I mean, it'd be ideal for you. And I know you kind of talked about that. But then if you get in the Grand Prix, I know shit happens, right? Opponents pull out, things happen. But at least in a Grand Prix, they're gonna work extremely hard to rebook an opponent for sure. I mean, we've seen it with Bellator. It's not always the opponent that you train for, but at least they kind of give you somebody and you're getting paid, right? And I think that's kind of the part of staying in the game. um Shit, I forgot what I was gonna say next, but yeah, man, it's yeah, like that's crazy. And I think like um okay, yeah, shit, yeah, now I know what I was gonna say to you as well. So you kind of talked about the fight, about like how you felt about your performance and whatnot. When you when you look back on the fight, what do you feel like you could have done better? Because you kind of talked, maybe it didn't go the way you exactly wanted it to.
I mean, I wouldn't say I took my opponent for granted. I just knew at the end of the day I was gonna get the win. I didn't expect it to be that close.
Hmm.
But I knew experience wise, I was a lot better than him. That like I could always pull some out of my bag
I,
of tricks, and I always felt that I'd be fine in the fight. Yeah, I wasn't worried about his power. That's why like he caught me with a couple good punches, and I was like, like I'm not worried about it. I've been fighting guys at 35 at the championship level, so for me,
yeah.
I've been fine with it. And the wrestling, he did really well, counteracted my judo really well. And even when I went for submissions, he would do the smallest things to keep me from finishing certain submissions. I'm like, oh, like well done. But then also, two things that played a factor that I didn't really consider until once I was in the ring was trying to push off the fence because there is no fence. It's pushing off the ropes, and they also don't allow you to keep your feet on something. So, for example, if I'm gonna push, I have to like hit the rope and push off. I can't put my foot on it and then try to like climb up. It's not like the fence. They don't allow that. They push your feet off if you're doing that. So for me, it was hard to escape. But then plus, the best way to escape is going towards that person's body, which also leads towards those his knees, his feet, you know, in Pride or in Rizin, you can knee a grounded opponent to the face.
Yeah.
You can kick or soccer kick, which he did try against me, and he did try to knee me in the face once while trying to turning in. So that was also like, oh damn, all of my escapes are from this angle. But fuck, I'm kind of in this like little hole where I'm like, I know he can throw a knee, or at least I would throw a knee. So that
Hmm.
was the hardest part. But I mean, in general, it was fun fighting in a ring. And just the crowd, dude, it was it was always so much
It
fun.
was it was pretty cool, and I didn't get to watch the fight like real time, but I went back on and I went back to watch it as soon as I could, and I enjoyed the fight. And as a spectator, what I really saw was the second round for sure is where I really saw more of the experience from you, and kind of where you had him in situations, but it was a way he was able to kind of, like you said, I personally thought like you were gonna have him in the second round. Because
Mhm.
I didn't watch any results. I didn't look up like who won the fight. I was just gonna watch it, and it didn't say like who won or anything. So all it said was your fight with him, and I watched it. And going back, and I honestly thought you almost had him in the second round, but I think he really surprised me as a spectator. And what would you say is probably the biggest thing that he did in that fight that you were not expecting? Was it just the resilience? Was it him just trying to get out of those positions?
There's two things that I struggle with naturally. Is one, long people, Sean O'Malley style, or my last opponent, where they're long and they stick and move. But with this one, I don't mind being taken down. Like I'm gonna get taken down. I'm very clumsy and I do dumb shit. Like I'm gonna force a throw sometimes. I don't mind getting taken down. That's part of my submission game. And that's part of my game to make you work because I'm not gonna tire out. But I work on momentum. So if you're able to stop that momentum, that really kind of fucks up a lot of the stuff I do and a lot of the, I wouldn't even say submission attempts, but locks or takedowns that he had on me were just positional to where it's like you're stopping my momentum. My leg is locked. I can't move a certain way. I can't move my hips, and there's no type of like pendulum swinging whatsoever. It's just
Yeah.
flat, and I'm like, fuck, I really gotta force something now because this is not my position. So for me, again, I knew I was always gonna be able to get out, and that's why I don't know if you would like see in my face a couple times where I'm like bored, and I'm like, oh, damn it, he's going to hold me. He's not going to try to go for submissions or he's not going to try to go
Yeah.
for strikes because I want to see action as well. Like, dude, if I'm going to lose, try to finish me. Like, worse is the worst. I
Exactly.
lose to Alex Perez. Dude, you did a good job. You never stopped. That was my opportunity to keep on going. I didn't do it. But if you hold me and you win in that fashion, I'm just like, you won in the most boring, safest way possible. Like, and it's not fun for me either. So for me, I knew there was always going to be movements for me to get out, but I think I took him a little too for granted that I thought the submissions would come in a lot easier. And he was just always moving. I thought he was going to tire out much faster. I knew he died out on me in the second round. But the third round, I was like, oh, cool. Like, I'm going to finish him. This is not going to be a problem. And he just never stopped moving. And I was like, all right, this kid's a lot tougher than I thought. So, in general, I felt safe, but towards the end, he started to get a little desperate, and I believe that's what lost him the fight as well. Is he again? That was the pro and con that I said about fighting him. Is that he's such a young, inexperienced kid that he's also
Hmm.
very wild. It can work in his favor, or it can't. For me, I kind of expect the unexpected. So when he went for the knee bar, the heel hook, I knew something like that could happen, and I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm good. And in my head, I'm like, oh, you fucked up. Like this is gonna take a lot of energy out of you, and you put yourself in a bad position. Now I'm on top, and I'm beating you up, or I'm going for submission attempts. So, in general, it was a good fight. I wish I could have done more action wise, but the Japanese fans liked it. They enjoyed it, and hopefully my next fight's against Kyoji or another contender.
Well, yeah, I want to get on that as well. But I clearly Shinryu was like so disappointed, and obviously so. It was a close decision, split decision. Obviously, and I saw that you had some words with him after the fight. So what did you say with him? Were you just talking to him? Like, were you just consoling him the fact that I've been in this spot before where I thought I won the fight? Like, what did you talk with him about?
No, actually, it's funny. I didn't console him whatsoever. I was like, "Oh man, like good fight." I congratulate his team. And then after we talked, that was off air. He came to me with his translator, just asking like, "Hey man, how do you believe I would do against the top 15 in the UFC?" Because I train Lazy Boy, and obviously I've trained
Mm-hmm.
with Moreno, Pantoja, all these guys, and I'm like, "Could I see you in the top 15? Sure. Like you're a fun fighter. Do I see you beating, the top 10? No offense, I don't. And that's just because of your experience." I go, no. I was like, dude, you remind me a lot of my fighter Lazy Boy. He's still very green to the UFC experience, to those high level guys. Like he's gritty, he's wild, he's fun, but there's a part where that experience comes into play, and it's literally those
Mm-hmm.
little things. It's
Yep.
not about how strong you are, or how fast you are, or how hard you could hit, or for example, how many hits you can take and just be super tough. Obviously, they don't work with me with Alex Perez and some other fighters as well. So for me, it's the case of I go, dude, you're really good, but I already had a game plan against you that no matter what you did, I already knew I could win towards the end. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, why do you think I did nothing in the first round? I knew you're going to be so explosive that you were going to tire yourself out. That's why I dominated you that whole second round. Third
Mm-hmm.
round, dude, kudos to you. That caught me off guard. You
Yeah.
pushed the pace, but I knew you would die out in the first round. One, it's very stereotypical. Japanese fighters are so exciting. They just go out and in a sense blow their load their first round. Second round, they're very different fighters, and I took advantage of that, and he was part of it. And I was like, that's why I walked forward. I didn't do any crazy techniques on you. I didn't do anything fancy. But you, when you got in danger, what do? You tried a knee bar, you tried spinning back fists, you tried flying knees, you tried crazy stuff, and you paid the price for it. For me, I kept it simple the entire fight. So for me, I would say, take it easy the first round, feel it out, but win it. Show your excitement, show your pace, and then when you feel you can do your fancy stuff, have fun, but make sure it's more towards the end of the round so it doesn't cost you the entire round. Given the whole fight is based off the whole fight, they're not based off of rounds, but still, like he took a lot of damage in that second round. And that's also another reason why I was able to come out with the victory. So for me, it was just more of an experience conversation with him. He was like, "Did any of my punches hurt you? Were you scared to take a hit?" I was like, "No." I was used to getting hit by bigger people. I'm not trying to be rude. It's just like I could take a shot. I was like, I grew up, my dad beat my ass. So no one's gonna hit me harder than my dad hit me. So I'm good. So for me, I was like, dude, we even when I hit him, I was like, it was kind of like a sparring match. We weren't throwing 100% at each other. We were just throwing to throw and then seeing what could be set up. I was hitting him a lot with the body, and I told him, I was like, dude, you're really really tough. I hit you a lot to the body, especially with body kicks. I hit him a lot with the leg kicks. He was limping after, but I'm like, dude, you never gave up. So I know you have the heart. I know you're gonna be really good. Then he promised. He goes, dude, I'm gonna beat you one day. I hope you come back to the Grand Prix so I can fight you and beat you one day. He goes, I owe you an ass kicking. I go, perfect, dude. I hope you beat me one day because then I know you got better. That means I need to keep on improving so I can keep you below me until that time's right. So until then, I'm the winner today, and that's just today. And next time it might be the other way around, and we'll see. But I congratulated him. And I hope that he was on the other side of the bracket if we did the Grand Prix. So maybe if I go to Japan early, we can train and fight each other in the championships.
And it reminds me when you talk about Japanese fighters being so nuts, it reminds me just like this was only a month and a half ago when you had Askira come over to the UFC and fight Pantoja. I think a lot of people were banking, or at least the UFC was banking on Askira beating Pantoja,
For
and
sure.
Pantoja just showed that the man's a dog and he is freaking wicked good. And I kind of saw there was two storylines I kind of saw. I saw that Askira, I thought he was going to come in and, I watched some of his fights before and he's very good.
Mm-hmm.
But another part of me thought, like, that's Rizin and that's great. But you go to UFC and sometimes, and I get you can be a great fighter and come to UFC and do well, but UFC is can be a definitely different like organization, and the guys like the fighters are just completely different. And I just thought the other part of me felt like, yeah, there's that, and you're fighting Alexandria Pantoja. Like, the guy's freaking good. He's not a champ. He's not just a champ for no reason. And he showed exactly what the other side of me felt like. I was like, yeah, but if he goes in, he starts getting wild. He's got to get caught, and that's just what happened. It's that, and that kind of goes back to what you talked about your opponent that you just had fought. That, I think, like, it's gonna take him time. He has to learn to grow as a fighter, not just he can. I think he's got a lot of potential as well. I've watched a couple of his fights. I think he's got some good skill, but give him the experience, give him time, slow down a little bit, strategize your fights. And I think that he might in the UFC one day, or he might get to wherever he wants to go. So it's definitely, the reality is there's UFC and you have Rizin. I mean, you got great fighters in Rizin, but you go to the UFC and it's a different ball game. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, also realize he's 24 years old.
and that's
You
just
know,
it.
he
Yeah.
fought me at my prime and took me to a split decision. I'm like, dude, you did really well. Like, don't put yourself down. Like, you're still young. And I told him he has a lot of time. Yeah, now it's his fourth loss, but he's also had 22 fights by the age of 24 years old. So this kid's been putting in work. Again, he's like Lazy Boy. Mexican and Japanese fighters, they have that respect. There's actually a boxing war between Japanese and Mexican boxers in Japan. It's just a fun little war of attrition. And I told him, I was like, dude, you're just like Lazy Boy. Like, it's just the experience. That's all it is. You guys are both phenomenal fighters, but you have to pick the right fights. You took the right fight against me because obviously you were so close to winning, but you took the chance. It didn't work out in your favor, but I know for sure you learned a lot from this, or at least I hope so. And then you're going to be that much better, in your next outing.
Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about one man here, Koyoichi Horiguchi. I know I probably said his name wrong.
Kyoji, yeah.
I say a lot of people's names wrong on here. I'm very notorious for that. You talked about wanting to fight him, and your desires to do the Grand Prix. Obviously, he got to win his fight as well. So, Did you get to message him after? Did you get to talk with him after, being like, "Hey, man, let's fight," or what's
No,
going on?
Kyoji and I have always had a very mutual relationship. It was very neutral when I was at American Top Team because, his dorm he's one of the first people in the dorms. Like, they actually named the dorm Kyoji Hall because he was the first guy there. He's been there. He's still there now, at American Top Team. So when I was there, um, it was just like, oh, hey, cool, Kyoji. And the crazy thing was, I do consider myself a really, really hard worker. Sometimes I work way too hard and I'll hurt myself. Like, I do some really dumb shit. But no matter what I did, everyone there, and this is before I met Kyoji, everyone there is like, you work hard, but not as hard as Kyoji. And I'm like, the fuck? And every single day, somebody would mention Kyoji. Like, they idolize him at American Top Team.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met him and trained with him. And like remember the very first day I got to train with him, he actually rocked me. And I wasn't expecting it because I was cutting weight for a fight. And I had horrible weight cuts back in the day. And I think I was like maybe a week out. I'm feeling like shit. This is my last sparring day and I'm already done. Like, mentally, I'm already done for the day. I think I did my fourth round, and somebody's like, "Hey, can you spar with Kyoji?" I was like, "Yeah, I mean, sure, I don't care, whatever." Like, I've been wanting to train with Kyoji, and in my head, it's like he's the hardest worker. I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I want to see how hard he works." Then he starts bouncing in front of me, and then I don't remember getting hit, like, but I was still standing there. He hit me like he kind of jumped in and did his blitz punch, and I felt like Chris Tucker in Rush Hour 2, where he's in the middle. He's like, I'll take on all you guys. And somebody kicks him in the face. And he's like, who kicked me? Like, I remember looking at Coach, and Coach is like, Kyoji's behind you. And I'm like, oh, shit, this guy is real. And he won that day. And then after that, like, we start sparring and training and having a good time. And it was always back and forth. I would win a day, he would win a day, or it'd be neutral, 50-50. And it was always a lot of fun, but I realized how hard he works. It's not the fact of how much output he does, it's what he does in his trainings and knowing
Hmm.
to rest and knowing he knows the balance of training. And I was like, fuck, this guy's fun. Then he's legit. And then obviously I got released from the UFC, went to Brave, and he started doing the Bellator Grand Prix. And I know he before he did the Grand Prix, he became both Rizin and Bellator champion. And I'm just like, you're doing this at bantamweight, dude. Like I know how small you are. Like he's
Yeah.
compact, but he's always in shape. Like he's never fat. Like he's always disciplined and in shape. Again, and a very very hard worker. And I'm like, fuck. And he was one of the reasons why I bumped up because I'm like, fuck. If this guy can do it, I can do it too. So I've always, in a sense, been like Vegeta, and he's the Goku, where I'm like compared to him and I'm trying to catch up. So for me to finally be in the same promotion, it's like, dude, I'd love to fight you. It's not a disrespect thing. It's not like I hate you or I'm a hater or what. I was like, dude, you obviously I'm happy for everything you've achieved, but I know how good you are. I know the name you have. We used to train together. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't fight.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm the next guy in line. I have the best resume behind everyone else he's fought. So why do rematches with somebody else when he can fight someone new like me? I think it makes sense. I've also been a champion at bantamweight in both Titan FC and in Brave after the UFC. So it's like he's fighting a guy that's his size that can be at both bantamweight and flyweight, compete at both weight classes at the best visibility. So for me, I think it'd just be a fun time.
And dude, win or lose, he's fought like everybody.
Yeah, well, that's
Like, I
also the
mean,
thing.
I think he
Like,
fought both Pettis brothers, or no, maybe he just fought. I
no,
don't
no, no,
believe
he
he
just
fought
fought Sergio.
Sergio. Yeah, I think he
He's not
fought
bumping up to
Sergio.
55.
But he's
But
fought DJ. Like, fuck, he's fought like
he's
everybody.
he's fought DJ, he's fought
He's fought
Sergio
every
Pettis,
Japanese
he's fought
person in
Patchy
Japan. Like,
Mix.
Jesus.
He's fought everyone in Japan. Like he's fought Asakura, he's fought
Yeah.
Manel Cape. Like he's a guy who's beaten some, he's lost to some, but he's always a warrior just taking on those fights, and that's something, I 100% respect because he's like, I just want to fight the best. Like, yeah, sure. Sadly, with that mindset, you're gonna lose inevitably, but that's also part of trying to be the best. I mean, you look at Patchy Mix. I think he's easily one of the best bantamweights in the world, but he had to lose one to become that much better. And that's part of the process of trying to be the best or be a champion. Like, you're gonna lose. I hope someone loses because that's the growth process. Even DJ, I believe, being one of the best in the world, has lost. Even technically John Jones, even though it was a disqualification, like, he's still one of the best in the world because of that loss. It taught him a lot. So for me, it's a fighter with names, and it would be a lot of fun to create a legacy saying, "Hey, I fought," and I do say this respectfully. In Japan, he is the legendary Kyoji Horiguchi. Like he is the
Hmm.
face of Rizin.
So when you talked about previously about them hoping to get that fight against you and Horiguchi, and if they did put you in the Grand Prix, were they hoping that to guarantee that fight does happen, they have you guys fight each other first, or because you guys are more marketable guys, they would try to keep you guys separated, hoping you guys win all the fights and then make it to like the final? I know I got the tinfoil hat on, thinking like this is what a promotion would do, but literally that's what I'm thinking here. Come on.
I really have no clue, and that's the hardest part about a tournament is that it could be a rock paper scissors thing. There's people who beat other people, and there's people who just demolish others, or lose to others. So it could be a rock paper scissors thing. I could beat everyone in the division and lose to Kyoji, or it could be vice versa. Where I can beat Kyoji, but I can lose to everyone in the division. I mean, Bellator, when they did the Grand Prix, and given they had Rizin, they had Kyoji a part of it. Basically, if you fought the champion first in the first round, you won the belt. But if you lost it in the semis, you lost the
Yeah,
belt. So the
that's wild
belt
how that
goes,
happens.
the belt or the Grand Prix, belt in a sense goes with the champion. So if I so happen to fight Kyoji first and it is like his belt is on the table, then technically if I beat him, I'm the champion until the semifinals. Then the belt is up there for grabs. And if somebody beats me, or I defend it, amazing. Then I go to the finals. So that's the hardest thing. I just wonder what's going to be the catch. What's going to be the incentive to do the Grand Prix? Is it just for the belt, or is there going to be a certain amount of money or prize at the end to where it's like it's not just for the belt, dude. maybe changing my life. You look at Patchy Mix with $1 million. It's like that's fucking awesome. Especially with the PFL and Bellator doing the same thing. If they make $1 million tournament, dude, sign me up. I'll fight everyone the same day. I don't care.
And I think that's really cool, like how they do those tournaments where they have like the $1 million prize. Like I know PFL they do something a little bit different. Obviously, they got like the tournament, and then you win the $1 million. And then you got Bellator that did something before that. Well, basically they did the same thing. It was just more and more
Yeah,
of like a format, like tournament Grand Prix.
yeah, it
I
was a
really
Grand
thought that
Prix.
was really cool that Bellator did that. It was I know probably other promotions have done that in the past. So they're probably not the first one that's done it, but it was really cool how Bellator did it because again, we kind of talked about that. You could fight the champ in your first fight and you win the belt, and it's cool, but it also kind of works for the promotion because to put on events, I mean, you don't have to have two guys fight for a belt to put on an event. We've seen that happen, but it's kind of cool how it works out that way. So when they have, I'm just gonna throw Bellator to whatever 250, whatever, just for example, they could have you Bellator 250, and you can still have a title fight as your main event, which is kind of ideally what you want, but
Hmm.
it's still cool that it kind of works out that way because whoever's in that seed for the Grand Prix has the belt, so it kind of is like a title fight night, a fight night, which was really cool when Bellator did that. So just the way it kind of worked out, I think Bellator doesn't get the same recognition as I've given it. Like I used to for the longest time didn't really watch Bellator. I don't know. I don't know if it was the production. It didn't draw me in, and then I just started seeing all these guys are getting signed over there, and the events that they start putting on in these Grand Prix. I was like, this is actually kind of cool, and it was really cool because it brings up so many storylines. There are different storylines or possibilities that you could see. Like you have somebody that has no business, no offense, winning that belt, and then you see him fighting a guy just because styles make matchups. And you see him get to the final, and he wins $1 million, and it's like holy shit! Like he's
Hmm.
never won $1 million. Same with PFL. They're doing this exact same thing. Like you got a guy that got knocked out. My buddy there who just fought like 3 weeks ago. He got that. It was oh Jesus, I'm trying to think of his name. I'm bad with names on here, but he got that. He got knocked out. It was like that. He caught the guy caught his leg and then or he caught the guy's leg and then
Yeah,
he
yeah, I know who you're
switched
talking about.
around and then he caught him and kicked him in the head, knocked him out. It was like highlight reel, and now he went in the PFL and I think he won the belt. He
Hmm.
won the belt and he won the $1 million prize like 2 years in a row. Oh no,
Hmm.
sorry, no, he didn't. But he was one fight away, or no, he was in the final
No,
and then he lost.
he
But
won.
yeah,
No, he won the belt. The guy who got kicked in the face won the belt and won $1 million.
no, he did. But in this just last year, I guess
Oh,
now the 2024 year, I think he lost in the final, but he was so close to winning it twice, and that's just crazy. Like how someone who didn't even get to the top 15 and now they're a world champion in PFL. Like it's just amazing how you can have so many different storylines and possibilities like that. I think that's amazing, and that's why
I
I really want to see you in the Rizin. I want to see you in
yeah.
the Rizin Grand Prix there, man. That's gonna
Well,
be awesome.
that's the hard thing. I remember when PFL was talking about, hey, they're gonna do a bantamweight Grand Prix. I was like, oh, I want to be part of it. Given there's hundreds of bantamweights out there, thousands that are trying to do the same thing. So I
Hmm.
remember talking to Ray Cephone, and he's like, "Oh, dude, you got to get in line." And Patchy's like, "Yeah, they're gonna do it next year," and then it never happened in 2024. And it seems like they might still not do it in 2025. I mean, I don't know what's happening with the Bellator fighters,
Yeah,
but that's a
I'm not
whole
too sure.
different topic. But with Brave and Rizin, Brave also wants to do a flyweight Grand Prix because they never finished the first one that I was part of. So I don't know if they want me to do that one or if I'm able to go to the Rizin one because I believe the Rizin one's going to be a lot more popular, or at least for me, a lot more fan entertaining and exciting. That's one of the biggest benefits about fighting for this last bout. It was at the Saitama Super Arena. It was a pride making event, 10th anniversary. Like for me, it was a very, very huge honorable card to be on that even when I got there, I was just excited. I was like, oh, I got to do the weight cut. It's going to suck, but all right, let's do it. And this is my first time making, 130 or 59 kilograms. So it was nice to do it. And I was excited throughout the whole time. This is no offense to Brave, but a lot of their fighters really aren't known. and a lot of their fans are just typical MMA fans. They're not, those guys are like, oh, like, dude, I got to Japan. Somebody gave me a gift right when I got to the
Awesome.
door. There was fans out there. They're like, dude, we want to take a photo with you. We want to give you gifts. I was like, this is fucking awesome, So, I want to be able to have that same feeling. And I know Rizin right now can do this, especially for the Grand Prix. I had a lot of hype, and I still have a lot of hype right now from the fight. Um, and be cool. But whole separate side note, I don't know if you follow me on X, but Chael Sonnen shared one of my like old fight highlight videos. I don't know if you saw that.
I think I might have, yeah. I
Dude,
don't know
he
which fight it was.
dude, he shared my very last Titan FC fight because I put it on X, and it's just a quick knockout. I was like, fuck it, I'll put it up there. Like at the
Oh
time,
yeah,
X isn't
shit,
really
yeah.
doing
Now,
anything for
now,
me.
now I remember that. Yeah.
And Art of War, a page on X or Twitter, shared it, and they share a lot of highlights. And I guess fucking Chael Sonnen saw it and shared it and was like, "Who's this fighter?" And everyone tagged me. I was like, "Hey, that's me." And then he was asking, like, "Do you have a contract? How close are you to weight right now?" I was like, "I mean, I'm under contract, but yeah, I mean, I can make weight. What's up? What you got plans? Like what's what are you cooking, Chow?" And so nothing happened after that. But I'm like, either way, dude, that's really cool. That it just so happened to be nothing to do with the Ryzen fight. But I
Yeah.
come home from Japan, and then I'm trending on Twitter because of Chael Sonnen. And I was like, dude, this is fucking awesome. So, um, fingers crossed. Maybe something works out of that too.
Uncle Chael's got something for you. Don't worry.
I
I gotta
hope.
ask, like, so does he have his own promotion or what? Like, what were you
I know
referencing
he
to?
has. No, he just randomly was like, "Are you under contract?" He never. There was no follow up. He hasn't. I mean, it's Chael Sonnen. He does what he wants, so he hasn't followed up
That's
yet.
true.
But for me, I'm just patiently waiting, and I'm like, huh. I mean, if something comes of it, awesome. But if it doesn't, then dude, I just appreciate him sharing my fight video and bringing more eyes on me. Like I gained, I believe, with the Ryzen fight and Chael, I think like 1,500
There you
um,
go.
X followers. And again, that's Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty hard to get followers, so
It
I'm
really
happy.
is. Yeah, it really is. And you know what, man? And that on that topic, I really like Chael Sonnen. I've always liked him. I liked he was kind of one of those first guys that did all the trash talk and all that.
Hmm.
And he's so funny too. Like it's just great. And I know at the end of the day, it's all BS, but it's just I just love Chael Sonnen, and I love how involved he still stays so involved in the MMA community. Like he's not a guy that I'm gonna retire. I'm gonna go off in the sunset. I need to think about my family. No, like he's always doing his little podcast or what. I don't know. He just does those little fight videos where he'll like break down a fight, talk about why I think this guy's gonna win and all that. I watch those almost like at least I try to do it ritually, but yeah, like it's I really enjoy watching him, and he's really good, and he's really good at analyzing fights. I know we talked about another guy, Dominic Cruz. He's really good as well, and he
Hmm.
just knows his shit. I actually want to talk about him real quick because he's got a fight. But yeah, Chael Sonnen, I enjoy watching him fight, and I enjoy just watching him talk. He's just a great guy. I just feel like he's the kind of guy that you could just sit and just listen to for an hour just straight. Just let him talk, shut up, and just let him talk for like an hour
Hmm.
straight about whatever he wants, and I could do it. But on that subject, Dom Cruz. So he's got a fight with Rob Font on February 22nd. Um, I actually feel like it's a great fight, but it's like is gonna be his last fight because I mean he's up there and I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean,
It's
I've talked to him. I've talked to him about fighting. Two things. One, he was there on my last day at the UFCPI in Mexico
yeah,
to talk about my weight cut, and he goes, "Yeah, man, I call it as like a baptism. Like an unholy baptism. Like it washes away the sins from the weight cut. Like it's washing away the weight and all that stuff. So it's always a nice little. Excuse me. It's always a nice little fun adventure. But he was talking to me. I was like, "Hey, man, quick question. Are you planning on doing one more?" He goes, "Yeah, man, I'm here training. Like, I want to get one more." He goes, "I got one more in me. At least," he goes, "worst comes to worst, I got one more in me." So he's, I believe this will be his last one. And even looking at him, and I'm not saying this out of disrespect, you can tell even just training with him and him rolling around with the guys at UFC Mexico, he's not himself. He's not
mhm,
the one we grew up loving and
yeah,
adoring and watching on TV. I think that's gone past him right now, but it's also just that like for him maybe his final goodbye. Like he still has one more in him. Dude, he competes. He's fucking Dominic Cruz. Like he competes extremely well, but
Yeah.
he's still not as good as what he once was. And I say that respectfully. I mean, age is caught up to him. Age will eventually catch up to me. It's going to happen the same
Mm-hmm.
thing, and some other young kid is going to say the same shit. I'm like, fuck you.
Yep.
But the fact is, he has one last one in him. And I do believe this will be his last one, or at least, no offense to him, I do hope so. That no matter what happens, that he goes on his shield the way he wants, whether it's him going out or him winning and then putting his gloves on the ground. But it's a swan song. Let him have some fun. And it's dude, Dominic Cruz against Rob Font. Rob Font struggles with guys who move. Plus,
Mm-hmm.
Rob is more typically a boxer. Yeah, his last fight he grappled a lot more, but he's more typically a boxer. And if you can't
But
hit, then there you go. It's a different game.
he definitely has good submission skills, and I mean, he could definitely submit guys. I can remember. So it was UFC 213, and reason why I was watching the card at that time. The way I was a fan, I just got done training. It was that day I was just getting done training, boxing with a couple like with my one mentor and a couple of the other guys. There was one kid that we were trying to get him out, and we were trying to get him boxing and whatnot because we were just trying to get him out of his comfort zone. Like
Mm-hmm.
that day we were just doing like skills and we were just doing a bunch of drills and things like that. We weren't doing anything crazy. Anyway, and we're all like, hey, everybody want to do UFC night tonight? And we're like, okay, cool. So UFC 213, I really wanted to watch it because a guy from my hometown, Chad the Priest, he was fighting, and actually, luckily, he got the TKO that night. And I wanted to watch it while Rob Font was fighting. I think before him or after him. And I remember I knew the name Rob Font. I think I've seen this guy fight before. He seems pretty good. And I remember like I looked him up and whatnot. And I watched that fight, and that fight when he fought Douglas Lee, or not Douglas Lehman, but Douglas Antonio Silva, whatever it is. He submitted him, and the way he did it, I was like, that's the guy right there. He's gonna be in the top 5, top 10, top 5 eventually, and here he is. And he's done it. He's really good. I find Rob Font is good at adjusting to fights. He puts in really good game plans. I mean, he's got a really good team with the New England cartel. So him and his buddy there, they both have really good stand up. So it's gonna be a tough fight for him. I think what you said about him having issues with people like with like just the distance and movement. But I think he does adjust well in fights. And I mean, he is fighting Dominic Cruz now, not Dominic Cruz from, you know, even 5-10 years ago. So it's definitely gonna be interesting to see how the fight goes. And I mean, Dominic Cruz could definitely this is still a very winnable fight for him, and I don't know if that's why he took it. I think the UFC maybe booked it that way because it's a kind of a win-win for both guys.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think I'm definitely going to tune in for it because it's. I wasn't going to talk much about it, but this is a really underrated fight night card that I really want to watch and analyze because it's got a lot of great, like, just great fights, and a lot of people might look at it and say, "Oh, what is this card about?" I'm like, honestly, you look at some of these fights. They got Gene Silva, who's like this guy just got in the UFC like last year, and he's had like 3 or 4 wins, and the guy is freaking insane, like insane power. I really enjoy what he's doing with him and they're called like the Geek Club or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They got like the glasses with the little white in the middle of
Yeah.
the glasses, and I don't know what their team is over. I think they're in Brazil there, but yeah, it's crazy. You got a great card. I think your boy Curtis Blaze is gonna be fighting that night as well, so that's gonna be awesome. I'm glad to see him come back after that loss back in England there. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man, it's gonna be a great fight.
You
And
also have Cejudo.
yes, and I was just gonna add that. Yeah, Cejudo's fight just got announced. So that's another fighter that I'm a little cautious about, and I mean that, and I don't mean that with any disrespect. I don't know how you feel about it, but he's had 2 losses. He retired when he was on top, and I think that was awesome. It was a great storyline for him to go out, and I think it was cool the way he went out on top, and then he came back. And I don't know if it was just he came back in a really tough fight, which I think he did, but then he lost against Marab as well, which is, I mean, arguably he's a great fighter. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's freaking Marab, but I mean, just I don't know if he just doesn't look the same. And I mean,
He, he
I'm
he's
really
he's
I
not.
think this fight is going to tell a lot. And I don't know. I don't know how you feel from a
I'm
fighter analyst. How do you feel about him?
I'm gonna be a little bit of a jackass with this one. I'm gonna count him completely out for this fight. I really do believe Song Yadong could finish him, or if not, kind
Hmm.
of do the Marab thing, because dude, Marab just dominated him, and I do
Hmm.
believe Cejudo has all the tools to dominate and beat Marab. But again, it's Max Holloway says it best, and again, I'm summarizing here, is once you get to a certain level, it's all mental. Like, it's not how good you are, it's not how strong you are, how much talent you have, all the tools you have in your toolbox. It's literally all up here.
Hmm.
That's why they say champions only have a reign, because there's always going to be someone hungrier, and there's always going to be someone there. And look at Marab.
Yep.
Marab, no offense to him, he's not the most technical fighter. I've trained with Marab. I beat up Marab. But dude, you stay in there long enough with him, he will beat you. That's what happened to me. I was like, holy fuck, this guy is good. Like he just and I have a great gas tank. His is that much better. And I say that 100% respectfully. Like he's not that good, but he will dog you out if you let him. If you don't finish Marab, that's it. And once I saw, Cejudo go past the first round, I'm like, Cejudo's easily more technical. He's smarter.
Hmm.
All these different things. He just didn't have the gas tank and also the drive. And Cejudo's known to have the gas tank and the drive. Dude, he's an Olympic gold medalist. Again, I'm not trying to disrespect him, but I believe he's in a whole different phase of his life to where it's very different from Dominic Cruz. Dominic loves the sport. It just so happens that all of his injuries have forced him to be on the sideline. For him now, he's for the most part 100% healthy, and he's ready to make his swan song. And he knows that like this is my last one. I'm good. After this, I'm good. So I'm gonna go all out and just kind of go from there. So Huda on the other side, he doesn't know what he wants. Oh, cool, he's gonna retire. He was hoping that they would bring him back for a featherweight belt. It didn't work on his favor. He wasn't as popular as what he thought he was. And then he's like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna come back." Cejudo got big, man. Like I'm Latino too. I
Yeah.
understand that he got big, and he forced his way back down to bantamweight. There's a reason why he's never going to make flyweight again, and I say that logically. Like it doesn't make sense for him to try to go make flyweight again, but he's gonna struggle to make bantamweight, and when he does, I think he's gonna lose that drive and determination and go, you know what, I am too old for this, or you know what, I've already had my heyday of being the double belt champion. I'm good. Like I don't need to prove myself anymore. So I think this will be probably his last fight as well. And again, I don't mean this out of disrespect. I just don't see Cejudo having that championship drive like he used to anymore. I think after losing to DJ the first time, he needed that to show,
Hmm.
oh shit, I know I'm a great wrestler, but
Yeah.
and a hard worker, but I need to learn MMA. And dude, he did, and he had the drive. He became double belt champion, created history, a
Yeah.
pioneer of our sport. But right now, I just think it's mentally not his time anymore.
Yeah, and it's sad to see when fighters retire, and especially when they retire on top, and then they feel like they need to come out of retirement, and whatever the reason is. And I know you having a fighter mentality, you could probably put yourself in their shoes. Whether it's just that part of you, like that's all I know is fighting, and I have to come back because that's all I know, for example. But I really hope in Cejudo's case, it didn't come down to money, because if that was the case, like, I'm really hoping that these organizations one day can come up with an idea to give these guys like a pension plan or do something to help these guys out. But it's also up to a lot of these guys, especially that are champions that made all this money. It is up to them at that time to be smart and figure out what you want to do post fight. Because if you are going to make that decision, and I don't mean to sound like a dick, but if you're going to make that decision to retire on top and you made all this money, you got to make those decisions knowing, hey, I need to take care of myself long term. I need a
Mm-hmm.
plan after fighting. Like, and we've seen a lot of guys, like a lot of fighters, do it. Like in any sport, there's a lot of sports that the athletes do this. Like whether you open your own gym, like you look at Teixeira MMA there, great example. He's no longer going to fight, and he knows he retired. He did everything. He won the belt at 42 years old. Great, but now he's training his prodigy there, Alex Pereira. Like he's got a lot. He's doing the right things. He's got his own gym. He's doing things, and he's still staying in the MMA world because that's what
Mm-hmm.
he knows, and that's great. And that's awesome. So I'm really hoping for Cejudo's sake that this isn't about a money thing. I really hope not, because if it is, I really do feel for him that he has come back and do it.
I, I,
It's
I, that's the hard part. It might be a little different for you just because, like you did the sport, you enjoyed it, and you're like, okay, cool, I'm done. For me, and for other fighters, this has been our livelihood and stuff that we've
yeah.
been doing since we're little kids. So for us, it's like I wouldn't say it's all we know, but it's all we've been in a sense bred to do. So you're now
Hmm.
telling us after so long, especially, dude, I was cornering Lazy for 2 fights before I was able to fight again.
Yeah.
And helping him for his fights and helping other fighters. I'm like, man, I want to fight. Like I'm training, I'm in shape. I know I can
Yeah.
still compete with these guys. They're in the UFC or other promotions. And I'm either beating them up or doing really well against them. Like let me compete. And then after a while, I finally have the fight, and I'm like, yeah, like I felt great, but I'm also in my prime. When you have these guys who've been technically doing it longer, have had more accomplishments, and have been at the top of the top, and have not really been looked at that as much anymore. Maybe people don't respect them as much, or at least it's a new era and times have changed, and I get it. But the fact is, it's like telling a runner not to run. It's like what? You're telling a fighter not to fight. It's like this is all we've been bred to do, and especially if we're in the training room all the time and we're holding our own, it's like, yeah, I can still do this. I can still do this. Given practice is very different from a real life thing. You look at the Cody Garbrandt, T. Dillashaw example of the film of practice versus the real 2 fights that happened. Very different outcomes. So for me, it's just his drive. Like he's motivated to fight, but once he gets back in that water, he's gonna be like, "Oh shit, this is not. Oh, I did this before, and I'm gonna do it again. Oh yeah, dude, riding a bike in MMA is very very difficult to get back on that bike and steer in a straight line. It's really really hard, especially when your bike now is getting a little rusted. So it's part of the process. So I don't believe he's just gonna be mentally there. I think physically he can do it for sure. It's gonna suck with the weight cut, but I think physically he can do it. But I just think mentally, it's he's gonna regret it at the end. But I don't believe it's about money. I think he does really well with sponsorships, his podcasts. He can teach seminars whenever the hell he wants. He works
Hmm.
with MMA promotions. Like I believe he takes care of himself very well. But it's just the drive of I think I can still do it. But that drive's gonna change once he gets to that actual behind the wheel.
For sure, for sure. And I don't want to spend much more time veering off from you here. I want to throw the focus back on you. When you're in Japan, so you talked a little bit about. I think you did an interview, and someone asked you about your time in Japan after the fight, or
Mhm.
even before the fight. I know, and I got to see a little bit about. I think you got to have your Japanese pancakes there, and I
Dude,
think
I
you
got
had
to
some.
have
And I
Japanese
know you're gonna talk about the
pancakes.
sushi too. I know you will,
Oh,
because you
dude,
you
I
you raved about the sushi. I know you did.
dude, I don't even like sushi like that. Like sushi to me, dude,
I hate
I'm gonna
sushi,
get so
man.
much hate for this. I'm gonna get so much hate for this. So sushi to me, every sushi I've had is like gas station sushi. Like no offense, it's the same shit to me. There's some that I'm like, okay, that's better. Or like, oh, this is okay, cool. Like, oh, that's an
Fair.
interesting flavor. But when I went to Japan, like I can live without sushi. When I went to Japan, not just the fish was super fresh, and I had different types of fish and all that stuff, but the rice as well. It's actual like fluffy, sticky, clean
Mhm.
rice. Like again, like
Mhm.
Japanese are known for really clean, or Asians in general are known for cleaning the rice. It was sticky rice. It wasn't like, oh, we put some rice together, made it stick somehow. Like this was like super thick grains of rice. It was just, dude, it changed my life. Like I literally wanted to go back almost every day to grab sushi, and it's so cheap. Like it's so cheap. I had a wagyu steak, super cheap. I had sushi. We had these like really defined steak sandwiches, pork cutlet sandwiches, and shrimp sandwiches. Um, the Japanese desserts, the Japanese pancakes.
Mhm.
We had Japanese cheesecake,
Did,
which that's
j-
awesome too. The bread there is super different. It's fluffy but
yeah.
somehow moist. But the
Yeah.
highlight of the entire trip, and somehow, dude, it caught us all off guard. The best thing besides 7-Eleven food over there, amazing, is fried chicken. Fried
Yeah,
chicken
I
is like
can
their
see
best
that
food.
too. Yeah.
Dude, like no offense, Japanese are like the black people of Asia, dude. Like I was telling my girl, I was like, no, she's Jamaican, like she's stereotypical watermelon, all that the watermelon
That's racist,
fried
man. Come
chicken.
on, what's the
No,
fucking
no, no,
matter with you?
it's just super stereotypical. And at the same time, she was eating Popeyes too, so it was funny. And I was like, yo, no offense, this KFC right here, they KFC is a Christmas tradition over there. You have to wait 3 to 4 hours to get a plate of KFC on Christmas in
Oh
Japan.
my god.
Like that's how good their fried chicken is. Like, oh my goodness! Like I was just like everywhere I went. I felt like I don't know if you ever seen
So,
Friday After Next. I was just like,
oh yeah.
man, barbecue's so good, make you want to slap your mama. Like it felt like that.
Yeah, and you know what though? I've had like fried I've had Japan or just Asian fried chicken and it is different, but it's like I don't okay, and granted I had it here in Canada, so I'm sure if I went to Japan or China, wherever you go in any Asia, I'm sure it's gonna be 10 times better. But it's a way they do it. I don't know what it is. And I don't know if you know what I'm describing. It's like they make it more crispier and it's like more confined. I don't know how they deep fry it, but it's like, oh man, it's just good.
Dude,
They just do
besides
it a
that,
certain way.
besides that, and for people who don't know, like if you don't eat fried chicken, like you have to have dark meat. Dark meat is the
Oh
juicy
yes,
chicken.
that's probably what it
That's
is.
that's all they use. I never saw any like chicken breast anywhere. Because over here, chicken breast is healthier. It has less fat. It's more protein. It's leaner, which is fine. It's technically true, but it's drier. Dark meat, the back end of the chicken, dude. That stuff is juicy. It's
Always
fattier.
juicy.
Like
Yeah.
it reminds me of Norbit. Like he has the chicken ass or turkey ass. Like it's so like it's juicy. Like I'm salivating right now. Even the fried chicken at 7-Eleven was amazing. Like everything. Oh, I just want to say, if you don't know the stores, and you can TikTok it, you can YouTube it. The 7-Elevens, Family Marts, and Lawson's over there, the convenience stores. You can make yourself like a 5 course meal there. Like it's amazing. Everything is perfect. It's super cheap, and you can get a healthy meal there as well. Actually, my for weight cutting week, because I got there the day before weight cut day and then weigh-ins. I told Mike, I was like, dude, go to the convenience store and just find me something to eat. He brought me back soft boiled eggs. Usually, um, weight cut day, like you're just trying to have little things so your body doesn't shut down on you,
Yeah.
and like hold everything. So usually I'm used to eating hard boiled eggs. He somehow found soft boiled eggs, a very common thing in Japan, and the eggs are actually fucking soft. Like you crack it open and then you're like, oh my gosh, and then you open it up and it's still like runny inside, dude. It was the most amazing thing for a person that's cutting weight, because usually if you have dry food with a dry mouth, it makes it even drier, and
Oh yeah, it's rough, man. Yeah.
it's there's no reason to even eat it. But this, I was like, oh my god, could I have more? No, oh come on, So like, even eggs over there are amazing. Like Mike knows this. Lazy knows this. I'm a jackass. It's like I was saying every day in Mexico. This is good, but I've had better in Chicago. This is good, but I had better in Chicago. I'm such a jackass. I was saying this is good, but it's better in Chicago to like tacos in Mexico, where tacos are from. But in Japan, dude, you guys reign supreme. Like when it came to the eggs, the chicken, the ramen. Oh, there was lines outside of places that we went to. The desserts were good. The desserts are good. I wouldn't say they're better than us, but the desserts were good. The
Man.
sushi, amazing. Like it was.
Man,
I'm gonna go all night about this.
Man, did you have one of they're almost like sandwiches. So you have like and it's like I think it's the fluffy bread that they have, right? That you mentioned. They get the fluffy bread like your sandwich, but that they have like the real cream with like the fruit in it. Did you have any of those?
No, 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 I didn't have
Oh
any of
man, I
that.
watched some video of this guy doing it. So when I was doing my bodybuilding, I think I was like 3 weeks out, and I was watching nothing but like food videos, just watching people doing food videos, and you got those reels on YouTube, and it was this kid or some guy going into like convenience stores in like Japan and maybe it was Korea as well. I think it was Japan, just based off like how everything looked. But I think he's in Japan. He's in these like 7-Elevens. It's like looking, it's like day whatever of going into Japan, Japanese 7-Eleven, and they're getting like things like they have like a cup of like ice, and then you have to like open up, and they have like a bag of like like the juice in it, and then you have to pour it in the cup and all that,
Mm-hmm.
and he's pouring in this other shit. I'm like looking at it like, oh fuck. I'm like looking at my wife. I'm like, oh god. She's like, I know, honey. 3 weeks and then you get to eat, and and that's all I watched. But there was this video of this guy, and he comes over, and I think he was working for Lad Bible. I don't know if you follow those guys
Yeah.
on online, but he worked for Lad Bible, I believe. And he goes over to Japan, and he's going like what do you call those things, like vending machines, and he's like buying like the sandwiches with a real fucking cream with like
Mm-hmm.
strawberries or whatever, and it's like and it's like biting into it in front of the camera. And I'm like, oh god, and I can hear him like biting down. I'm like, oh, I can only imagine
Yeah.
that looks so fucking good. And
It's, dude.
yeah,
It's
everything's
Japan.
so different. Ah,
Japan. It's. I know it sounds like super stereotypical, but like when they speak, you respect them. When they make food,
mm-hmm.
you respect them. Like, oh my gosh, they put so much discipline and love and like respect into all the things that they do. Like their food, their technology, and anime. All three of those things were amazing. And we went to multiple different neighborhoods. And like we went to an anime neighborhood. We went to Shibuya, which has everything. It's like the strip, if you want to say, of Japan. We went to Ginza, which was like more of Michigan Avenue or Polanco, Mexico, which is like Coach and Louis Vuitton and all those like super fancy stores. Like
Yeah,
the neighborhoods are super cool, super clean. It's one of those places that like I've always wanted to go to, and it didn't let me down whatsoever. Like
yeah.
it's just, and it's funny because Mike, he's like, oh, let's do this. Let's go to Osaka. Let's go see Fuji. I was like, dude, we're in Tokyo for 2 days to enjoy ourselves. We're gonna stay in Tokyo, dude. It's a lot. It's like Mexico City. It's really big, and there's so much stuff to do. We had to take the
Yeah.
train to different neighborhoods to buy anime stuff because there's one whole block of just anime stuff. There's another whole block of just technology stuff, and there's flea markets that are 7 floors up that are tax free if you're an international traveler. If you bring your passports, $10 or 10% off and tax free. So you buy just
Awesome.
whatever. Like I bought this sweater, like I'm a huge anime fan, so I had a good time, and it's just one of those places to where if you're a tourist, there's always something to do. There's always gonna be something that catches your fancy over there. It could be food, it could be anime, it could be technology, or sites, and you're just gonna have a great time.
And you know the wild thing too about Japan, and what I heard is that like you go over there and everything's a lot cheaper. Like if you do conversion American or Canadian, it's actually a lot cheaper, and not just cheaper, but like you go to like restaurants and there's no tax or anything apparently, or
Hmm.
no, you don't have to
There's no
tip
tip.
because
Hmm.
there's no tipping because apparently they I think with like any workers or like waitresses, they actually pay them like decent money and you don't have to tip. It's actually insane. I think Japan, they are so advanced and they got so many great things right over there. And you were also mentioning, you might talk about in another interview. I watch a lot. I think
Oh,
you talked about how when you got a lot of I don't know if it was you that bought the Funko Pops, but somebody bought Funko Pops and you got them really cheap or something.
that was me, dude. I bought.
Yeah. What did you
I
buy?
think I bought four. I mean, I wouldn't say like Funko Pops, but like I don't have any next to me. But they're like little model
Just
figurines,
okay, model figure. Yeah.
and in the states minimum they're like $20. Depending on the size, and the size for 20 is like some
Yeah.
small, but over there you can buy a good one for like $10. And I'm like, how much? Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll take that.
Oh
Like I
my
was just,
gosh.
I pretty much I bought so much I had to buy a third check-in bag. And over there, coincidentally, on the top floor, they sell luggage at every place because they know tourists gonna buy. Like they encourage tourism. Like I think there's a
Oh,
rule right
100%.
now. There's a rule right now with Japanese airlines. If you buy your international flight through them, at the same time, if you purchase domestic flights in Japan, it's free because they want to encourage tourism. They will pay for your domestic flights in Japan to go to Osaka and all these different places because they want people to buy stuff, and it brings more money into the country. Now, when you say that they're advanced, 100%, not just with the food, but with the technology, the transportation, like it was one of those things where, again, propaganda here in the U.S. We're told that we're the greatest country in the world. We're told we're number one in everything, not just sports. We're told that we have the best technology, and you go somewhere else and you're just like, dude, why don't we have this? Like this makes common sense to have it
And
over there. And it's, dude, they're just there, like
They really
there.
are. They really are, and not just with that. And hey, I'm not saying China is great. You know, it's a communist country, but China though they got some things right. China, Japan, a lot of these countries got a lot of things right. That and
Mhm.
I don't mean to put that hate on your country here. Okay, I don't need
Hey, you might be
I don't
part.
need
You might be
Trump to
part of
I
us
don't need
soon.
I
You
yeah
might
I
be
know I
part of
don't
us
need to be
soon.
the 51st state here. Okay,
I
but
heard your guy just stepped down. You know, I just want to say that.
I'm glad he did. Fucking piece of shit. Um, but no, it's crazy. Like with China, you look at their economy, and yes, it's very communist. But you look at like they're doing a lot of things right. You look and the kids there are going into like I don't know, like it's military. It's more like scouts. I would compare to like scouts here, or like kind of a little bit of step up from scouts, and maybe it's forced. I don't know. I don't think it's entirely a bad thing. At least you got the kids there preparing, and they're preparing the country and teaching these kids all these things. Meanwhile, you got kids in this, in the states or Western countries here. They need their safe space because of their feelings. I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
it's a
No,
little
you.
crazy, a little crazy. And another thing about Japan, and I really respect it in China. I mean, it was pretty much in the Asian countries. So I really respect the respect factor. Like everywhere you go, you respect elders, you respect people. Just having respect in general, and it's such a big thing there, and that's what I really pride on. Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with giving someone a handshake, and as you should, that's what you do. You show respect to people, and you're not just doing it. You don't just do it because you feel you have to. Do it because
Mhm.
it's the right thing to do. Show respect because you never know when that person's going to come back, and you might need that person's help. In Japan, like I've seen. I mean, you were talking about, yeah, it'd be a great idea to bring back to the Western countries and bring back instead of shaking hands like bow because hey, sanitary, like no more, COVID, no
I,
more COVID. Yeah, like it's crazy,
the,
man.
the one thing I do want to state, and I mean, I love the bowing. Yeah, like everyone shows respect, and you saw the three levels of respect. There's like hello is a greeting. There's more of like, like welcome or like thank you for being here, and then there's like, oh dude, I respect you, the long deep bow. But the fact was, like me, I was bowing to everyone because it was dope. They showed so much honor and respect to me back. It was like, this
Mm-hmm.
is great. The one thing I did not like about not Rizin, but some of the fighters that were on the card, um, especially the fun boxing match that they have. One thing that the U.S. does really well that I personally dislike is they take away the talent from the fights and they make it more of a show. They all are heels now. Everyone wants to be an asshole. Everyone wants to be Colby Covington, Chael's son, and Conor
Yeah.
McGregor. That's fine. Every once in a while, dude, there has to be one, but not everyone can play that part. And sadly, at least what I saw at Rizin during that, like the fun boxing event, it was like team versus team. It made it seem like a WWE match. And this is just me as a respect for the fight game. Like I love Manny Pacquiao, where he never went in there trying to talk smack. He goes, "Yeah, no, I'm gonna beat you. That's it. Like I'm not saying I beat you because I think you suck. I just think I'm better than you. That's all. Like I'm not saying you're bad. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
talking trash about your mother. He's just like, I just want to fight, and you'll respect me because I'm a good fighter." And that's what happened. But now you have all these people that want to talk smack and do that. And I believe it takes away from the game. Jake Paul, as much as he's doing great for the sport of helping some fighters and promoting some and doing that, it takes away the actual talent from these guys. And
Yeah,
you
and that's
have
just it, right?
it's not fun to me, or as a I believe as a real fighter or a real athlete, to watch these guys that I believe, again, my opinion, that I'm better than, make tons of more money. And I get what other fighters are doing. You got to sell tickets and all that, but it's like Japan, for example, is a very honorable and respectful country. So seeing them kind of follow the same attributes as the West of talking smack and doing this and doing that, dude, dye your hair, do whatever. That's fun. Put on a show, be a visual character. But there's no reason to make it personal or try to, in a sense, make it look like it's personal so you can sell more tickets. Dude, just be a good fighter, and trust me, people will follow suit. You look at Inoue, one of the Japanese monster superstars of boxing. He doesn't talk smack. He barely even talks. He just fights, and people love and respect him because of it. So I hope people continue to follow that instead of the Western culture of trying to promote yourself through your mouth instead of with the weapons that you're here to use.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We could be talking all night. We are totally over time here. Yeah, I'm just glad that Shorty, that you, like I said before this, that you're back home safe, and that you're out of the fight pretty much unscathed, and that you know, that you got yourself a fight and you're back home, and we were able to do this again. It's always fun, and I hope you guys always, as always, tune in MMA Unhinged YouTube page. Actually, update, more interviews are coming out soon. I know we've been kind of quiet over the break, but more interviews are coming soon, especially with Canadian MMA as well. So stay tuned for that, guys, as well. And as well, check out Shorty's new stuff. He's always got new stuff coming out every single day, every day. And
soon, soon to be USA #2. More content coming from them soon. Yeah.
yes, hopefully, hopefully. And guys, just thanks for tuning in, and be sure to like and subscribe for more content, and we'll see you guys next time. Shorty, always a pleasure, and I'll leave the floor to you, man.
Cheers, brother. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for love support. I'm happy to be here and then live in one piece, like you said, and I can't wait to see what happens. Maybe KOG, maybe somebody else, but as long as I keep fighting, stay active, and keep on fighting in that ring, I want to be like Mano Cape. I want to put on shows. I want to be like Kyoji Horiguchi, have the honor of the fans, but I want to be like myself and be remembered with the little guy with purple hair that put on a show every single time he fought. So we'll see what happens next, but I appreciate you guys. Take care of yourself, and Happy New Year's, everyone.
All right, see you guys.